Welcome back to another explainer, where we're going to take a devastating forensic audit of what the source documents actually call Project Thor. We're talking about the ultimate orbital kinetic bombardment platform. Today, we're going to explore the terrifying engineering, the wild legal loopholes, and the staggering physics behind a theoretical weapon system designed to literally drop apocalyptic destruction right out of the stars. Okay. Let's just dive right into the impossible problem this weapon was designed to solve. Imagine an enemy fortress, specifically a deep underground military base, or what's known as a DUM, buried beneath miles of solid granite. How in the world do you annihilate a target like that without crossing the nuclear threshold, breaking international law, or, leaving a massive, undeniable radioactive crater on the surface? Well, the proposed solution completely skips the messy, highly illegal nuclear bunker buster. You see, a nuclear weapon leaves extreme radioactive fallout and violates a whole host of global treaties. But a kinetic projectile? That offers a pure, totally clean transfer of kinetic energy. And the craziest part? The documents argue that doing it this way is perfectly legal. Let's look at how that works in Section 1, the ultimate treaty loophole. This brings us to an incredibly clever and honestly terrifying legal workaround. It involves the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. This is a very real international agreement that explicitly bans placing nuclear weapons or any other weapons of mass destruction up in Earth's orbit. But here is the catch. As the source text points out, if you drop a solid pole of metal from space, legally speaking, it's just a kinetic projectile. It technically isn't classified as a weapon of mass destruction. So, by relying on pure physics instead of a nuclear warhead, this entire system just completely bypasses the treaty. And hey, we aren't just talking about science fiction here. The source documents highlight the unclassified 2003 U.S. Air Force Transformation Flight Plan. Right there on page 146, the military explicitly listed hypervelocity rod bundles as a future orbital strike capability. They define them as weapons capable of striking deep, buried targets directly from space. They've literally been openly conceptualizing this for over 2 decades. Moving right along to Section 2, the orbital hardware. To actually pull this off requires absolutely staggering material science. The Project Thor magazine orbiting the Earth doesn't hold explosives. It doesn't hold chemical warheads. It holds solid tungsten rods. The documents describe them as being roughly the exact size and shape of a standard telephone pole. Just wrap your head around that. We're talking about dropping a massive, unpowered metal pole straight out of low Earth orbit. Picture the exact dimensions for a second. Each of these tungsten rods measures exactly 20 feet long. That's about 6 meters, and it's exactly 1 foot in diameter. It is just an incredibly dense, terrifying metal cylinder. Tungsten atomic number 74 is the absolute ultimate metal of choice here, and that's because of its extreme weight. It's almost twice as dense as lead. Because of that mind-blowing density, the source calculates that this single 20-foot pole weighs exactly 18,933 pounds. That is nearly 10 tons of solid mass, just waiting to fall. Now, dropping a nearly 20,000-pound rod from space is going to generate apocalyptic heat the second it hits the atmosphere. But crucially, tungsten boasts the highest melting point of any pure metal on Earth, a staggering 6,192 degrees Fahrenheit. That means it easily survives the sheer, apocalyptic heat of atmospheric re-entry without burning up or even deforming. All right, let's get into Section 3, Mach 10 targeting. So, how do you actually steer a falling telephone pole through a superheated plasma shockwave and manage to hit a 10-foot ventilation shaft all the way from orbit? The drop sequence outlined here is a marvel of physics. It involves 3 steps: quantum target mapping, Mach 10 gravity acceleration, and carbon composite fin steering. And honestly, the true genius of this system is that because of how it navigates, it's completely immune to standard GPS jamming or electronic warfare. You literally cannot hack it. It all starts with quantum gyroscope technology, tied to U.S. patent 9074879. Instead of relying on fragile radio signals from GPS satellites, which an enemy could easily block, the weapon uses quantum sensors and supercooled atoms to read the actual, unalterable gravitational topography of the Earth itself. It measures the precise gravitational mass of the underground bunker and the surrounding rock to lock onto its target. Falling at roughly 7,600 miles per hour. That's Mach 10, by the way. The weapon survives the drop while remaining almost entirely undetected. Gravity is providing all the acceleration, meaning there's absolutely no rocket exhaust for enemy thermal sensors to pick up. Viewed head-on by radar, it has virtually zero cross-section. It's literally like a needle falling from the sky. And to steer, the documents note it uses patented ablative carbon composite fins, referencing U.S. patent 4292367 that are designed specifically to slice right through that 6,000-degree plasma bow shock. Which brings us to the climax, Section 4, the subterranean kill. So what actually happens at the exact moment of impact? When this kinetic needle hits the surface at Mach 10, the rod doesn't explode outward into the atmosphere like a normal bomb would. No. Because of its extreme hypervelocity and sheer density, it buries itself hundreds of feet deep into solid bedrock instantly. Newton's kinetic energy equation is weaponized perfectly here, transferring all of that massive descending velocity directly into the Earth itself. The source material literally describes the result as vaporizing the granite into plasma. In just a fraction of a second, the apocalyptic pressure of the impact is so intense that the solid rock surrounding the subterranean bunker instantly turns into a superheated plasma state. Let's just look at the math of the destruction for a second. The pure kinetic energy transfer of that tungsten rod delivers a destructive yield of 11.8 tons of TNT equivalent. That matches the exact focused seismic shockwave of an 11.5-ton tactical nuclear weapon. But the critical difference? Project Thor produces absolutely zero radioactive fallout. None. It's a completely clean strike. The aftermath is just absolute localized devastation. The strike instantly liquefies the surrounding bedrock. It's mathematically designed to just snap the massive friction pendulum system bearings, those heavy shock absorbers meant to protect these underground bases from earthquakes and nukes. It shatters the tunnels and entirely crushes the subterranean facility into a permanent tomb. The sheer violence, localized entirely deep within the earth, simply overwhelms any defensive architecture they could possibly build. So, this leaves us with one final, massive question based on this terrifying audit. If the ultimate stealth weapon can deliver a completely deniable apocalyptic strike from the heavens at any moment, without triggering global nuclear alarms, who is currently aiming it? A clean kinetic strike from the gods leaves no fingerprints, making us all wonder just what else might be hiding in orbit right above our heads.